Welcome to Green is Good, raising awareness of each individual's impact on the environment and helping to create a more beautiful and sustainable world. Now, here's John Shigarian, Chairman and CEO of Electronic Recyclers International, and Mike Brady.
Hey, welcome today to Green is Good. Mike, it's wonderful to see you today in studio, and it's cool in here today.
Yeah, isn't it nice today?
It is. In studio, it's cool, but outside, it's hot.
Oh, man, Mother Nature and the sun just doing what the sun does best, that big old ball of helium and hydrogen.
Here in the Central Valley, we get plenty of sun, and at this time of year, it heats up for sure.
What did I read recently that we get, on average, 300 days of sunshine a year here in the Central Valley?
That's amazing, because you know what, that's a true number, and I believe it is, because you're a great reader and you like to memorize all that stuff. That's a number we've got to promote more. I've never heard that number, but that would be a lot. That would bring a lot of people to the valley here.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you know, how many things are cool about sunshine? Well, let's see. It's pleasant. It's good for your mood. It's the sunshine vitamin, right?
Right. Isn't it the catalyst to set off the vitamin D in our body? So
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So, I mean,
makes us feel good.
Yeah, it makes us feel good. And after a long winter, everybody, long winters here are not like they are in other parts of the planet. But good Lord, we can't wait for the spring sun, and we got plenty of it this weekend.
Well, we got plenty of it this weekend, and it's hot today. And today, it's a very sunny day in the studio also.
Because
we have a very special guest in studio today.
This is cool. A live guest. We don't have to make a phone call today.
Usually you're dialing away, and we're bringing people in and over the phone lines to all parts of the United States and actually around the world now.
Oh, yeah, because we've gone international in the last month or so.
Yeah, but now we have our second in-studio guest. We're honored today to have Duane Deister in studio today. Duane owns a company here in the Central Valley called Fourth Day Energy, which is a solar installation company. And Duane just didn't jump on the, let's just say, the green train since it's been cool. He's been doing this pretty much his whole life.
This is really cool. And, Duane, it is great to have you in studio with us today.
Welcome to Green is Good.
Well, thanks for having me here. It's just cool to be here with you guys, and we're going to have some fun today because this is just the coolest subject around.
Well, Duane, really tell us. We love people who are really talking the talk, but honestly walking the walk. And you've been walking the walk a long time. How did you really get interested in solar? Take us back to your youth, and how did this all begin?
Well, it began really as early teen. I looked around and saw the serious pollution that we had in our air around the valley where I lived.
And you grew up here in Fresno?
Actually, I grew up in San Jose.
Okay.
And it was brown all summer. Couldn't see the local foothills, and they weren't that far away. So that and being exposed to the fact that we're burning coal and it's dirty, and there was a big controversy about nuclear power and things like that. And it just started to make sense to me that we ought to be doing something different.
And were your parents, were they greenies or tree huggers, or was it your brothers and sisters, or what was going on up in the San Jose area? Was there any green movement back when you were a kid?
Not really.
So then how did that evolve into what you're doing today? Bridge us from your youth to now. What evolved in your life, and what happened that brought you to owning a solar company here in the valley?
Well, I took that interest and went ahead and went to the local college, began my college career. They started a program in solar technology. There was, I guess, that was back after the oil embargo, which triggered a response from then President Carter, I believe. Mm-hmm. And he set the speed limit lower. And, I remember experiencing people lining up at gas stations.
And how about, and was there anything going on back then in wind or anything? Did you also look at the wind industry or see what was happening in the wind industry that also helped you get excited about alternative energy sources?
Really, I didn't know much about wind industry.
Okay.
The most I knew about wind industry was driving through the valley and looking at those cool-looking windmills out there that would pump water.
Okay, so you saw those.
Yeah.
And then did you take some of these courses in solar at the college?
I actually finished a degree in solar.
Perfect. And then how'd that go? What happened?
Well, I worked in the field a little bit, but the tax credits ended, change of government policy, and went on to, prepared in other ways for where I am today. I eventually obtained an electrical contractor's license and just worked installing equipment. In the mid-'80s, actually got into the wind industry. and began first with an engineering company as an engineer, providing engineering support, and then went on to commission wind farms. And it was a real exciting time.
All over California or beyond California?
I was just in California.
Gotcha. So then you really had the bug at that point.
Yeah, I really did.
And then what did that lead into after that?
Well, in 99, the state, again, provided incentives for solar. And so that really is when this current photovoltaic started.
And you started with the photovoltaics back in 99.
Yes, that was installed my first 2 systems in 99.
So you were really part of this green movement way before it was cool like it is now to be green and part of the green revolution. You were really doing this way back when, from the youth to the wind to taking solar in college and then starting photovoltaic installations back all the way in 1999, 10 years ago.
Right.
Got it. So then recently I know you had a company called Sunstar Energy. What was that?
That was a company that designed, sold, and installed photovoltaic systems.
Gotcha. And now you've morphed into owning Fourth Day Energy, which you started in 2007. And tell us how that's gone since 2007. And by the way, how did you come up with that name? I mean, explain the name, because I want our listeners to understand that.
Well, I really wanted a name that would stand out, something that was different, something that didn't begin with solar or sun or some other S word that was so prevalent in the industry.
Yeah.
And we looked for something unique, and an employee actually came up with this name, Fourth Day Energy. It has to do with the fact that the sun, which was created on the fourth day.
I like that. What a great idea. And an employee came up with that suggestion, right?
That's correct.
Wow.
So you named the company Fourth Day Energy. You opened it here in the Valley. And take us through the last 2 years. How's been the response been? Is the public really ready for this? Is the media really ready for this? Is the Central Valley ready compared to other parts of the state? What's going on?
The public is ready, but they also need, they're becoming more and more concerned about the environment. But really it comes down to the bottom line. What's it going to do for my pocketbook?
And are people doing, I know you do commercial and home installations. What's better for the bottom line today? Are commercial people looking at it as more from a bottom line perspective and ordering more of these systems, or homeowners, or how's that breaking out?
Well, there's been a tremendous growth in the commercial market. Most of the installed wattage has probably been in the commercial market, but there's much fewer installations. They're just much larger. There's a real financial incentive for the residential customer, for homeowners.
You had mentioned earlier on in your career that back then there were financial incentives, there were tax credits, and then they went away, and then the interest for the homeowners kind of just dried up a little bit with that. So the thing that's really going to fuel it is going to be the tax credits as well as the environmental concerns. Is that correct?
That's correct. I mean, everybody's interested in doing the right thing, and solar is definitely the right thing. It's something that we can do to help our environment.
When you started first of all, in 1999, how many people were then installing photovoltaic systems in the Valley? And then when you started Fourth Day Energy, how much competition did you have? And now today, walk us through the evolution of how many companies are really doing this back then and how many are doing it today.
Well, back then there were probably two. Two, maybe 3 when I started.
Wow.
When I started Fourth Day Energy, they were probably 30 to 50.
And now, even after 2 years, are there even more than that?
I'm not really sure.
Sure.
It's hard to keep track of all the companies. There's new companies popping up though all the time.
So it's truly a busy sector.
It is a busy sector with quite a bit of competition.
So if you were sitting here with Mike and I over lunch, explain to us why it would be a good investment for just 2 regular guys, in terms of our homes. Why would it be a good thing to do these at our homes?
Well, I'd have to say, first, I'd like to start with the fact that it's the right thing to do. I mean,
Right.
It's good for the environment. We want to get off foreign oil. There's another thing that I'd really like to make a big point on is
Sure.
that energy independence is pretty crucial for national security.
Explain that, though. Really, we've never touched on that on the show. That's a great point. Why don't you explain to Mike and I that, and to our listeners, what do you mean by that?
Well, as we're dependent on other countries to provide our energy
Yeah.
energy runs our whole economy. If we don't have energy, or if its expense gets away from us,
Yeah.
then our economy suffers. And we're going through a tough time now, and part of the reason is going to be because we have not prepared for this in the past. We've had opportunity, and we haven't chosen this personally and nationally. This is a great time to change that. And looking to renewables is the way to go. I mean, it's not the only thing. We can look at all the renewables, though: wind, geothermal, hydro, solar.
You make such a great point, Duane, because, you were mentioning the Arab oil embargo of the 70s. I remember two of them. And at the time, I was a college student, and I remember driving a Volkswagen and thanking God that I was driving a VW because it got great gas mileage. And boy, when you had to wait in line and you could get maybe 5 gallons, that's all you could put in. I'm thinking, okay, lucky me. But you're so right in your point that we've had all this time, and it's not the first time we've looked at our dependence on cheap foreign oil. We've had 30, 40 years to prepare, and we haven't done anything. And you're so right when it comes to driving foreign policy. Oil is a weapon. That is a weapon those oil-producing OPEC members right now have to force your will upon other nations.
Well, it is, Mike.
So if you over lunch, you're asking Mike and I, we're asking you how to do this system and what kind of system should we put in our homes. Tell us, what's a typical discussion go like?
Well, really, the first place we start when we talk about what makes sense for you as a homeowner is how much energy do you use currently? Are you looking at finding ways to reduce? Or do you just replace and reduce that economic burden of the expensive energy?
Right.
We talk about the tiered rate structure that PG&E has us on, where the highest tier is almost 50 cents a kilowatt hour.
Wow.
If you use a lot of electricity, it gets real expensive.
Got it.
And that's where we start.
Okay. So you help us examine our bills and look at what's going on in our own home. But listen, we're going to go to a commercial break right now, and we're going to come back with Duane Deister, and we're going to talk more about Fourth Day Energy and the solar revolution here in the Central Valley in Fresno, California. Come on back to Green is Good.
If a little green is good, more is even better. Now, back to Green is Good with John Shigarian and Mike Brady.
Hey, welcome back to Green is Good. We're so lucky and honored today to have Duane Deister in our studio today talking about the solar energy revolution and his great company, Fourth Day Energy. Hey, Mike, you were so kind today to bring in this recent Fresno Bee article on solar and the solar cities here in California. And I think it really bears discussing in that Fresno was rated number 5 for top 10 number of solar roofs in the state of California. Behind San Diego, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Jose, we have 1,031 solar roofs right now. And, of course, with Duane's great work here in the Valley, this time next year when this number comes out, I expect, Duane, you'll get us up to, probably what, number 2, maybe number 2, number 3?
You bet.
Okay. But the other interesting statistic here is top 10 for solar capacity in terms of kilowatts of AC installed. And, of course, I'm not a tech guy, but we're number 3 in that, right behind San Diego, San Jose. We've got 15,005 AC installed kilowatts. So we're right up there. And it looks like if, for a layman like me, and this is all thanks to Mike bringing this in, we're well positioned here in Fresno for the solar revolution. And with your great services and your great company, Fourth Day Energy, we can really make a dent here in our energy consumption here in the Central Valley and in Fresno.
Well, that's right, John. Fresno's a great place to do solar. We have a tremendous solar resource, only eclipsed by probably the Palmdale area.
That's great. I mean, and you cover from where to where, just so our listeners know, because we have listeners nationally, internationally. Of course, we have California well covered. So, where do you cover? So I want them to know if they go to fourthdayenergy.com, and it's 4 with a number 4, fourthdayenergy.com, and they look you up after listening to this show. Where is your major coverage?
Major coverage is within 50 miles of Fresno.
Great. And that's wonderful. So for Mike and I, we really do now national, international shows. It's wonderful to have a local guy in our studio and to support local. Part of the sustainability movement is that whole buy local craze. So any of you local listeners who are listening today, we want you to support our local guy, our local solar guy, Duane, and fourthdayenergysolar.com. So you're about a 50-mile radius.
That's correct.
Got it. So let's go back to, Mike and I over lunch, you're pitching us today. You're pitching us on why to buy solar and for our homes. Give us the top 2 or 3 things. Like what really resonates with most people today?
Well, this is probably one of the best times that I've seen to buy solar.
Okay.
To invest in solar because of the current 30% federal tax credit that we have.
Perfect.
It just provides a real financial incentive. Couple that with the California rebate that's administered through the local utilities.
Okay, so let's make this simple because Mike and I want to understand this numerically. So we buy a solar system for you, and for every $1,000 we spend on it, explain the federal tax rebate and explain the state program so that we want to understand what we're going to get, our bang for the buck.
Okay, there's 2 different things. The rebate through the state has to do with AC kilowatts installed.
Okay.
And currently we get $1.55 per AC watt that is installed.
Okay.
And the federal is a little bit different because it's based on what we spend to pay for the system. Whatever you as a customer will pay to purchase that system after you've taken into account the rebate that the utility gives you directly.
Okay, you take that off the top of the expense. Yeah. Okay.
You'll get a 30% tax credit. Now that means that's worth 30% of that money you spend. If you spend $10,000, you're going to actually get effectively $3,000.
Cut off our tax bill.
Yeah, cut off the tax bill. If you owe $5,000, you get that $3,000 taken off, and you only have to pay $2,000.
That's awesome. And that's kind of like a no-brainer. And you are saving on your utility bill, right?
Absolutely. In the end, with these incentives, the systems cost about 50% of what the top line cost is. That's
really?
What it ends up costing you right now. And with the current global economic crises, demand for the materials are down significantly. And coupled with that, the overall cost is much lower than I've ever seen it. But at the same time, utility costs are higher than we've ever seen them.
That's right.
And they're going up.
Yeah, oil is not getting any cheaper. And when you're talking about oil and coal-fired plants to generate the electricity, this really more and more, you don't have to think but a couple of seconds to realize that this is a wise way to go.
So when people always ask ROI, return on investment, so now Mike and I know that if it costs $10,000 to put the system into our house, we're getting a $3,000 federal rebate. You explain the kilowatts issue. So what is the typical? And of course, we know it's idiosyncratic based on usage and size of homes and all that other kind of stuff. But is it a 5-year, return on investment typically for this kind of investment? Because it is an investment into the house.
It's so individual, but it ranges from about 4 years up.
Okay.
Currently, typical is 6, 7, 8 years.
And of course, for homeowners that install it, it also passes with the house. So it's actually an asset that's part of the house that will flow with it.
Absolutely, and it has value.
It has value.
It actually raises the value of the house based on the reduced operating expenses of that home.
That's wonderful. So now if Mike and I are business owners, does the return on investment change at all from a federal or a state perspective? Do we have a different proposition if we're 2 business owners and you're sitting down to lunch and pitching us at lunch? Is your discussion any different?
It's a little bit different. Rebates are a little bit different. The federal tax credit is the same.
Right.
There's also an accelerated depreciation that's available.
Okay, so explain that. Walk us through that in layman's terms, as Mike and I want to understand it, and we want our listeners to understand. We want this to be as simple for everyone to understand as possible so more people get with the solar revolution.
Okay, well, I'm not the CPA, and it does get kind of complex. And that's why we
neither are we, so don't worry.
Yeah, we subscribed.
Mike and I want it simple. We're just everyman. We're just Joe USA. We just want it simple from you as much as you can.
All right. Well, we still get the same 30% tax credit.
Okay.
After that, we can depreciate the balance of the system cost on a very accelerated schedule, and I don't quite remember the details.
So on an accelerated schedule, which really works to your advantage then?
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. That is great. Are businesses or homeowners, availing themselves of solar more? Is it a 50-50 mix that you're seeing? Is it, or is there a different mix right now?
Well, we're seeing more of the residential. We're geared a little more towards residential. Installed watts, I'd probably say that there's probably more commercial, but they're just larger systems. We're getting even utility scale systems and utilities that are getting involved.
And now with, what we just lived through with Al Gore and the climate change issue, with Clinton Climate Initiative, and now with our new president and the political will that's emanating from Washington, D.C., is this the greatest time in your life since you're a teenager when you first got the bug, Duane, to be in this industry? And what did you see the prospects over the next 4 to 5 years with regards to Fourth Day Energy and your solar installation business?
Well, we're definitely looking for growth. We're seeing an exciting time coming, not without challenges. I mean, currently we see prices low. We're certainly expecting inflation to come about. We're expecting to see greater demand and prices going back up.
When you say prices, for your panels, for your solar panels?
Primarily for PV panels, yes.
Gotcha. One of the things people say to me, and then I want to go back to that other question, is that it's going to make my house ugly? Are they smaller and less visible now than ever before, these panels?
Increases of inefficiency have occurred. Technological advance has been pretty slow. We've had a lot of promises, and they come along, but they're real slow. We take a lot of care in making our systems look good.
So there is the aesthetic value
right
there, and you're paying attention to that. The other question would be, too, how about the technological leap? We were talking about how the first generation of anything usually is pretty cool, and it's new and it's exciting, but the second generation is usually cheaper and is vastly improved. So where are we on that scale, that continuum?
We're probably at least third or fourth generation. I mean, this technology began in the 60s, was deployed utility scale in the 80s or 90s. We're quite a long ways up. And as far as technology, we've got lots of promises about new technology. We're slow in seeing those come about that really filters down to where I can put it on your home.
How about, cost? I know we're coming near the end of our show today, but financing, are the banks or other lenders excited to finance these for homeowners and business?
Financing is available.
Good.
Through both unsecured lines and secured lines.
Great. So there is a willingness. You're feeling not only the political will, but now you're also feeling the financial will to get behind the solar revolution.
That's right.
Oh, that's great. Hey, Mike, this sounds like something we should be doing probably.
Well, you know what? We're in the process of looking to buy a home,
right.
My wife and I, and we have already discussed the fact that, boy, wouldn't it make sense to go solar? So, Duane, what you're saying is technologically we're into about our fourth generation, so we don't have to worry about the technology. It's vastly improved than what it was. You're talking about the aesthetics, so it looks better. And now with the financing available and the tax credits, this seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, Mike, especially when you're buying a new home and rolling that purchase right into the long-term financing, it's a great time.
Oh, that's a great point, too. Great point. Well, listen, Duane, we're so honored that you came into studio today, and we're really thrilled about what you're doing here in the Central Valley. And for those of you that were listening today that live in the Central Valley, please go to fourthdayenergy.com, fourth with a 4, the number 4, and support our local guy, Duane Deister, and get solar for your home or your business. If you're listening to our show somewhere else in the United States or the world, call your local solar installer and join the solar revolution. Duane, you are inspirational and are living proof to Mike and I and our listeners that green is good.